Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Michael J. Maher with another edition of the weekly Words of Wisdom on how many woods could a wood sell if a wood did sell woods? How many woods would a wood sell if a woods did sell woods? You got it right there? Everybody got that? So we're going to answer that question today, except she doesn't sell woods. She sells beaches. Beaches. How many want to go to the beach right now? Are you telling me that in the Oklahoma City got snow? Come on now. Kansas City went sledding. It's October. Like, I mean, come on. That's crazy. Well, today we're going to warm you up from the inside out with our special guest. And our special guest, as a newer agent and a newcomer to Florida, she successfully utilized the techniques from the 7 levels of communication, 7L, to grow her business and her database. She went from knowing absolutely no one in the area to not only knowing the majority of her community within a year, but a majority of the community knew her, which is even more important. She continues to build her sphere through community events, providing value and giving authentically. And she lives with her husband, Randy, and poodle, Harper, in the best place under the sun, according to her, North Palm Beach, Florida. She is very active with the Friends of the North Palm Beach Library, raising funds and promoting the library as a community resource. She also serves on the environmental committee for the Village of North Palm Beach, advising village council and staff on best practices to protect and preserve our environment. Ladies and gentlemen, start your watch party now. Go to share, start watch party on your personal profile or in your Facebook group if you have one. Today, we have with us the wonderful Shawn Woods. Shawn Woods, welcome to the Weekly Wow.
Thank you so much for having me. Well,
of course, duh. I just love, you're like the perfect example. You're like the poster child for leading with generosity. And so tell that story real quick. Like when you got there, you just decided to clean the beach, right? I mean, it was just like, what, tell us how you got started in the area and then we'll kind of back up. By the way, for everybody that knows me, we have these list of questions that Shawn has probably worked on. She's probably written the answers to. Sherry's worked with her on it, rehearsed, and then I ask a question that's literally not even on the
That's
on the
okay.
sheet, so. But I know you know the answer.
So how did I get started? So I wanted to network and I wanted to do something I was passionate about. So I was going to some cleanups and big organized ones, like everyone was already in their cliques. I couldn't fit in. So I said, well, I'm just going to do by my house. So I started doing by my house and all the neighbors started asking me if I worked for the public works. I'm like, no. And they started talking to me and I figured out it was a way to network. So I just do it every morning and lo and behold, it actually turned into a listing.
So you're like, all right, what can I do? You know what? There's trash on the beach. I would pick it up normally anyway. I'll pick it up and then I'll just see if people want to pick up trash on the beach with me to keep the beach nice, And amazingly, people continue to produce trash that ends up on our beaches all around the United States and otherwise. So you'll never probably have a shortcoming of a job there, unfortunately. But people started joining you. And so you decided that, you know what, I'm going to, so how did you get that first listing? I remember a little bit of the story, but rehash that story.
Yeah. So I was, we have a lot of mangroves along the canal by the house. So I was kind of like in the trees, crawling around, getting stuff. And I came crawling out of the trees. And
you were in the woods.
Yeah.
Literally living up to your name.
And I mean, it's hot here. And I go in this funny safari outfit, like this hat and everything. And I come out and this woman's there just like aghast. And it was my friend, Kathy, Friends of the Library. And she said, "Oh my God, what are you doing? Like, I thought it was a homeless person in there." I'm like, "No, I'm picking up." And I was so excited. I was showing her everything. I found a shoe. I had all this crazy stuff. So I'm showing her everything. And she's just looking at me like slightly horrified. And she says, "Well, I got to go get to the office now." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, me too. See you later." Well, then I'm in my office, and I think I was on a webinar with you. And I see this notification come across, and there it was. It was from Kathy, an email, and she said, "Call me ASAP. I have a listing for you." And then it turns out she is a paralegal for an estate attorney's office.
Wow.
Mhm.
So she's an influencer, and in this case, a connector.
She is.
And she's on the Friends of Library, right?
She's the president. I'm the vice president.
Yeah. Now, it didn't start that way, right?
Now I am.
Yeah, yeah. So Sean Woods came to the area, North Palm Beach, as a not relatively unknown. She was completely unknown. She started cleaning the beach. She started working in the woods, and she was somebody was walking the beach, and and by the way, Sean was actually reaching into the mangroves to get the trash out, to get the stuff and put it in the trash. And lo and behold, not too long after, because of that interaction, she got a great connection, and she got a person who gave her the opportunity for a listing. You had to still had to do a listing appointment, still had to knock their socks off, right?
Yeah.
So now you, what did you do when you first moved to Florida to meet people after that? So one of the things you did was you started doing the beach cleanup, and you continue to do that to this day.
Right.
Thank you for doing that, by the way.
Yeah.
And
I was doing that, and I decided to organize my own.
Yeah.
And I got sponsored by the Public Works Department of our village. And the first.
Okay, hold on a second. How did you do that? So I have to tell you, what you've done is what we teach. So and the thing is you're going to gloss over it, but you were not necessarily opportunistic, but you didn't let an opportunity come into your realm without you exploring that possibility to its fullest, right?
Oh yeah, and it gets better. Wait till the end.
Yeah. So, oh my God, did you just salt the end of our weekly wow today? Everybody, you have to wait till the end. You're going to want to know how this ends. It is miraculous. It is crazy. It is amazing. And we have here Sean Woods today from North Palm Beach. She is a real estate agent, new to the area, but has rapidly become an influencer in the area through generosity. So tell us about what you did when you first moved to Florida.
Well, when I first got here, like I said, I was doing cleanups. I started organizing them, and then I wanted to get more people to come to them. So I had this idea, instead of like farming and just sending out like random postcards, I got a list of all the houses in my immediate neighborhood that use this park, and I hand wrote them all notes and invited them to my cleanup. 250
handwritten notes to people you didn't know.
Yep.
What'd you say?
I said something along the lines of like, "Hi, I live in this community, and I'm a real estate professional. I care about this community a great deal and the environment, and I'm organizing a cleanup on such and such a day. I'd really love it if you can come and, don't participate." And then I think my call to action on that was P.S. I think there was something about free donuts and
oh my God, you used a technique that works on realtors, on people.
Yes, I did. Free donuts and call me if you have any questions, something like that. And I actually got 3 new people out of 250.
Okay.
That came out.
But that was the first send. You got 3 new people on the first send. That's incredible.
And I also got the mayor, 2 council members, and the village manager. So they came out and they put it in the newsletter, and then it was like off like wildfire.
Okay, hold a second. So how did you get the mayor, the 2 city council members, and the village manager?
I invited them.
Okay, did you invite them with a handwritten note, or did you invite them in person, or both, or
in
3
person
ways?
and an email. But after they came, they got a handwritten note.
I love it.
Yeah.
So now you said that this was also sponsored by the Public Works Department before you had even had your first cleanup. How did you do that?
Because I called up over there to speak to the supervisor to tell him they weren't emptying the trash cans at the park often enough, and the raccoons and birds were scattering trash.
Interestingly enough, you were picking up so much trash and shoving so much trash into the trash bins that they needed to come more often.
Well,
Basically.
people would have parties, in the
Yeah.
gazebo on the weekends, and then they just like stick their trash in there, and maybe they wouldn't get the trash like Tuesday or Wednesday. And meanwhile, the birds and the bees and everybody's in there tearing it up.
So the Public Works Department is a monopoly, as most people
No,
know.
not here. We own
Oh,
our own.
really? They compete?
Yeah. No,
So-
we have our own in the village.
Oh
We
my
have our
God,
own
I love that. So you can choose between 2 or 3 different trash companies?
No, it's our village picks it up. We pay it as part of our taxes, and they don't use big garbage trucks. They drive around on little Kubota, those little Kubota cars with the little dump things on the back.
Totally know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And you don't have to
They're
put your
super
trash.
quiet.
Yeah, yeah. When it's 7, you don't put your trash on the street. They come and open your gate and get it out of the can.
Oh, that's so cute.
It's so nice.
But they compete. So anyway, does the Public Works Department compete for that contract with the village? I'm sure it's a big contract, right? Or are they a monopoly? Are they the only game in town?
They are the only game in town because it's the actual village that does it, but then they take it over to the Solid Waste Authority.
So here's the thing, right? A lot of times, like in our area, they're actually now competing for waste management. In the last 4 years, that has changed radically. And the big companies hate it because it was a monopoly. They had a monopoly. They were the only trash game in town. Now you have 2 or 3 companies. We love it. In our neighborhood, we love it. We bid it out, and, they came back with fantastic numbers, and when we all saved some bucks, right? And just so you know, I actually consult with a company who was the monopoly in many areas and is now having to compete. So they have to drive their word of mouth up through repeat and referral, and customer service is actually a thing. Like it never was a thing. Like if it was like, all right, you can call us all you want. We'll never call you back. We're a monopoly. We got your money. But when you called the Public Works Department, did you get kind of that monopoly response, or do you feel like they're like, oh, you know what? We'll help you out on this?
Yeah, they were totally responsive. Like the supervisor came out and met me, and he listened to all my concerns and all my ideas. And I said, well, we really need lids or something. And I told him what I was doing. And he's like, man, that's awesome. And he went back and talked to his boss. So then the next time he met, he shows up with all my grabbers, 50 pairs of gloves, a bunch of blue buckets from Lowe's with like stickers I could put on them, like how to recycle and everything. So I had the grabbers, the bucket, trash bags, a big load of trash bags. And he bought me one of those great big water cooler things, because I told him, look, I'm not putting bottled water. I want a big cooler. And so he came one day and brought it all to me.
Was that the very first one?
That was the second one.
Yeah. So you did your waterway cleanup, and so you started doing them. And how many people did you have at the first one? Like you and one other?
No, I had like 8 people.
What?
Yeah. Donuts.
Seriously? Oh, donuts. Okay. You know what? I keep forgetting the donuts.
And coffee.
And coffee. So what time did you do it, and when did you do it? What day did you do it?
Started at 7:30 because it's kind of hot here.
7:30 Saturday morning?
Yeah, it was Saturday morning. And Jupiter Donuts sponsored the donuts.
What?
Coffee. Yeah.
Where did you learn that idea? I freaking love this, Sean Woods. You're doing it. You're doing it.
But the thing is, he didn't know me from anybody. I just walked in there and said, hey, I'm doing this thing. Can you throw me some donuts? And he said, okay, if you buy the coffee. I said, deal. So.
Is there a mic you can drop? I mean, come on. So how much did the cleanup event cost you?
I think $20 for the coffee.
What? You paid? I thought we were going to say, yeah.
Oh, and then I took some half and half out of my fridge down there too. So.
Okay. So that's like $7. Come on. We got to keep every dollar accountable, right? Every dollar matters. All right. So you had 8 at your first event. How many did you have at your second?
I think I had about 18.
At the second.
Yeah. And then it's averaged about 20 each time.
That's awesome. Perfect number. Small, intimate. It doesn't flood the beach with a ton of people, right? You can all talk to each other. It feels more cohesive. That's the kind of it's almost like a Top Yap event in a way because of the size. It's more intimate. It's more exclusive.
that one too. We had a friend who had a boat, so he and a couple people went out on the boat and they got trash out of the water.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
Wow. Wow.
And
Well,
yeah,
be
and then
careful.
and then we had other people go even further. You know, we had a couple boats going.
And then, so they showed up at the event and then you wrote them all handwritten notes,
Yeah.
right? And this has become this is almost like you feel weird when you meet somebody and you don't write them a handwritten note, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you track any business specifically to
Oh, totally.
any handwritten notes?
Absolutely. So I run my open houses 7L style too, and I've modified door prize entry form into an open house registry form. And I ask questions like, would you like to know the value of your home in today's market, and stuff like that. And I put that on my regular event forms too. But anyways, I got this couple that came through and they filled out the form because I give away prizes, right? When you come to my open house, you get something. And on it, they were interested. And so I wrote them a note and said, thank you so much for coming. You know, it was great. I think they talked, oh, I knew their dog because their dog, when I walked by their house, would bark at me. And so, I say something personal that I remember about them. And my call to action on that one, I think, was, please call me if you have any real estate needs. And I put my phone number. Well, they called me a week later and they said, well, we'd love to know the value of our house. And I said, great, I'll come over. I mean, they literally lived on the street behind me. So I went over.
Walked over.
Yeah, lovely, lovely people. And I told them what I thought. And right now our neighborhood's really hot, as are many markets. And they were like, wow, that's great. Well, that's good. Well, we're not going to, move for like 3 years. We want to retire. And I'm like, well, if there's any time to do it, now would be the time. Interest rates low. There's a demand in this neighborhood. There's one house on the market in the whole neighborhood right now.
Wow.
And so he said, okay, well, we got to work 3 more years and we retire. I'm like, okay. But then we became friends. And then I'd see him out walking the streets, walking the dog. And I'd always say hi. And then they'd call me because they knew I was really connected in the village. And they'd call me and say, who should I call about our neighbor? His boat's like been out on the street for like a week. And I'm like, well, call my friend, da, da, da. So we built this relationship.
You became a resource is what it was.
I became a resource.
So how do you build a relationship? You add value. How do you add value? In your case, you became the resource. You were the person who knew people, even though you were brand new.
Yeah.
Right. How to go from new to new with a K, K-N-E-W, right?
Yeah.
So.
But then after that, then they called me and I'm like, oh, what do they need now? They called me and they said, okay, we're ready to list. I'm like, really? Like, okay. And this house it's like the nicest house in the neighborhood. Anyway, so we listed and we just closed on October the 5th for $510,000.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's directly really from an open house that led to a appointment, a handwritten note that led to an appointment. The follow-up really was the fortune in this case. It developed the opportunity to meet. You did a great job of continuing to follow up and build the relationship as a resource. And eventually they came to you 3 years earlier than, and you know why? Here's the thing that everybody watching and is that because they trusted her. They trusted her and they had confidence in the process. And how that confidence was built was with proper follow-up. If you're going to follow up like this with us and we're not even clients yet, imagine the great service we're going to get as clients. That's what they're thinking in their head. The psychology of the consumer was, we don't want to do this right now because honestly, we don't know how. We don't have a person we can trust and we don't know. There's so many question marks that we just don't know. And guess what? With some education, the market is hot right now. With some education, you know what? If you were going to do it, maybe now is the time. And here they are. They sold their home and they're actually living their dreams 3 years earlier than they were thinking about doing it because of Sean. They're living their dream 3 years earlier because they had a trusted resource in the real estate world. And I love that. Let me ask you this. Was the open house your listing? It
was a co-listing.
Okay. How does that work?
Well, it's so funny. It was a friend of mine, a fellow agent in the same office, and the sellers had cats, and the agent who had the listing was extremely allergic to cats.
But why'd she choose you? Because
Oh,
you're not allergic to cats, and
well, I'm not allergic to cats. And she knew that she doesn't know North Palm like I do, and she really needed my help. And she and I went through a team building thing together. We went through Bold together, and we were on this thing. We were the Bold Boss Babes. And
nice.
nice.
And so you fell into her arms. She fell
Yeah.
into your arms. She
Yeah.
trusted you.
Yeah.
Trust building exercises, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. And so you were holding it open, which is advantage you, right? And you had people come through. How many people come through? Like at the villages, it's gated, right? So don't you have you don't have the little guy at the front, the little
not here. There's no HOA and there's no gate, which is why we love it.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
This actually was the Nosy Neighbor open house I was having. So I had on Friday had the Nosy Neighbor open house, and then on Saturday.
You didn't call it that, did you?
No, but that's what it was. And here's the other thing about that too. I made little invitations to invite neighbors, and I walked around. I think I did 200. I walked to 200 doors surrounding the house and just put it on the door.
Yeah, but you didn't bother anybody. You actually delivered invitations. You became the mailman for a day, or mail woman.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So, by the way, I think this is a good time to plug November. I mean, like hopefully you guys are seeing that this is a weapon in her arsenal in the battle, right? And we are in a battle, right? We're all in a battle. Second place pays nothing in real estate. Second place gets you a pat on the head or a swift kick out the door. And first place is where all the marbles are. And first, I mean, it's just like war, right? I mean, in some ways, I don't want to belittle anything that has to do with real war, but it's one of those, like, it is a battle for first place and first place only. And Sean's not super competitive, but she's competitive. She knows she needs to win. And she's come up with a way to win in a brand new market. So guess what? If you're established in a market, it might be even easier to utilize her strategy to win, which is the handwritten notes, the power notes that we teach in 7L. And we are doing a 30-day challenge, and we have done it. A couple of things. One, we've made it so affordable that anybody on the planet can do it. It's $27 for 30 days. Every day you're going to get a message from me and a memory jogger that says, hey, this might be somebody you want to write. And you're like, oh, that's a good idea. And you write it. Or you go, I'm going to stick to writing my neighbors. Whatever, just write a handwritten note every day. You know what? You all say you're appreciative. I'm an appreciative person. And I'm going, would there be enough evidence to convict you in a court of law that you're appreciative? And the thing is like, well, but I am appreciative. Okay. So I say it sometimes. Okay, good. You say it. But here's the thing. Where's the evidence? What you say doesn't matter in a court of law. What matters is evidence. Now, if 100 or 200, like Sean, or 1,000 people show up with a handwritten note, you wrote them, we now have evidence of your appreciation. It means more to get a handwritten note than for you to praise them or compliment them. A lot of you are great with praise and compliment because it doesn't cost you anything. Mm-hmm. How about a handwritten note that costs you a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, very little money, and you do 30 notes in 30 days, put your appreciation in writing, and let's see what happens. Dave DeBryan one year wrote like 600 notes in 1 month. Wow. True story. Wow. He's with us. He signed up for November. He doesn't need to. He writes them all the time, but he joined it. Here's the other thing we did with November. We made it so it wasn't just real estate. This is literally for any business, anywhere. Anybody can join. 18-year-old high school seniors could join. College kids could join. Anybody can join the November 30-day challenge. So it's at Notevember.com, Notevember.com. Instead of November, it's November. And then, or you can go to bit.ly/November, and you can get there that way as well. So sign up for November. It'll do you good. And, Sean, I have to say, thank you. You're such an important part of the generosity generation. You're not the ambassador of woods. You're the ambassador of kindness, right?
Right.
Here's what's amazing about that. So, you start doing November. And so I'm looking at November and I'm going through the days, and like November 13th is World Kindness Day. Did you
Yes.
know that?
Yes, I
You
did.
did know that? Oh my God, you knew that. Of course, the ambassador of kindness knew it. The only two people in the world who knew that are right here talking to each other. So World Kindness Day is November 13th. So look at November as this month. So first of all, it's Thanksgiving. So giving thanks. And what a great month to give thanks. You almost have like a nice excuse to give thanks. And then you look at the 11th, right? So 11/11 is is Veterans Day, right? So we have these veterans who we should write notes to. Any veteran you should write a note to and thank them for their service. And then we have World Kindness Day on November 13th. We have all kinds of excuses throughout the month to express our appreciation. And here we have 30-day challenge. It's easy. One note a day for 30 days. We're also going to have a couple get-togethers, right? Because we got to celebrate and talk about the handwritten notes we wrote. And we'll do those as well as a Zoom meeting. And there may be, or it might be BYOB, right? So there you go. So, all right, I got to ask you, what? So you're doing the notes, you're kicking butt. Before we got on here, you're like, oh my gosh, things are so good. I am so busy. Thank God I have systems. I am very aware of success suicide, and I'm avoiding it. And even if I have it, I'm going to keep going through it. And we just had a great conversation about that. You're super, super busy. And so, once you started rolling, you became a certified referral trainer.
Correct.
Why did you become a certified referral trainer? And, what do you like about it? Or what do you think of getting your certified referral trainer?
Well, I didn't know what to expect. And I was pleasantly surprised by what I got. But really, I went there because I wanted to be fully immersed and versed in the 7L system. I was so taken with it. And the way I discovered it was through the Power Note. Someone at some seminar talked about a Power Note, and I said, where'd you get that? And he told me the book, and I got the book, read it, and I swear, like the next month I was in Orlando shaking your hand. And so anyways, and also I just really feel it was important to surround myself with a bunch of like-minded people. And the CRTs are just an amazing group of people. I mean, they're so willing and giving, and they share their information, and they want to see you grow. They want to, they're not trying to take for themselves. They're pouring it. We pour into each other. Anything we know, we share. And we take that out into the world too. That's the one thing I didn't know that CRT would become. Yeah. CRT has become this subfamily, this family of like the people who really get it. That's what I've discovered is like it's not about the take. It's about the share. It's almost like who can outgive the most in the CRT, like who can share the most, give the most, and help the most. And like I said, the reason I did it is because people were like, I'd really like to teach 7L, the 7L concepts. And I had gotten some messages from people who were in classes where people were using different things from 7L, but they weren't explaining it the right way, right? It was like about the take. This is really about the give and then the receive, right? We got to be ready for both. But I love what CRT's become. And I know that there's some people who are watching and listening who would love to be certified referral trainers. I would highly suggest it. Go to 7lteachers.com, or you can go to certifiedreferraltrainer.com, which is a URL like that long. Certifiedreferraltrainer.com, no S at the end. And then 7lteachers.com will get you there as well. So just to put you on the spot right here, are you going to join us for November? I'd love to have you involved. I just went out the other day. I got my little whale cards. Oh, and put those closer to the camera. Okay. Look at that. So, all right. So what's up with the whale? Well, we're a coastal community. Yeah. And look what else I got. Oh, transformation.
right? Symbol for transformation.
Yeah, and these, and they're all green inspired, so they're printed with recycled paper. You know me, that's what I got. But yeah, so I went out and got some more because I'm running low. And the other thing too is I personalize my notes with the stamps. Like I go to the post office and I look through them all. So like if a guy was into football and I'm writing him a note, I put the football stamp on it.
Now, what does that mean? Like a stamp? What do you mean? You've got like a stamp kit?
No, like when you go to the post office,
like the actual postage stamp.
Yeah.
Okay. You have different kinds.
Oh yeah.
So like mine is Referco or a Lighthouse, and yours is, oh yeah.
Well, I mean, like there's different stamps when you go to the post office. They have all kinds of different stuff. So like whatever the person was into, like I have some orchids if they were into orchids.
Nice.
It's just like a personalization.
Little added touch, right?
Yeah.
And so if you put like a lighthouse on mine, I'd be like, oh, that's like she knows, right? It's like an inside secret, like an inside thing.
Exactly. Right? And it's like it adds to it. The other thing too about the notes is it's something that people keep. They don't throw it away.
Yeah.
Like if you look behind me, I have a couple notes. I have one from the Maher, and then this one is from an 83-year-old Dr. Wyron. Jeez. And he is so wonderful. I interviewed him and worked with him, and he was just tickled pink that I wrote him a note. And he also wants me, he said, thanks for reminding me to spend some more effort on acts of kindness, random or known.
So 83 years old, did he get a 30-year mortgage? Because that would be like the definition of optimism.
Yeah, I think his house is paid off.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. So what, I have to tell you, that actually reminds me of a client I had, Malcolm Udaly in Kansas City, and helped them move. And him and his wife we got him into like a maintenance provided kind of a lifetime situation. And I had written him handwritten notes. I wrote them when I got referred to him. I wrote them after the listing appointment. I wrote them after the closing. And he wrote me a handwritten note about 45 days after closing. And I got it and was like, oh my gosh, like Malcolm Udaly wrote me a handwritten note. And I open it up and it's like, thank you so much, Michael. He's a very no nonsense guy. So it wasn't fluffy at all. It was just basically like, hey, great job. Thanks for helping us. And that kind of, and then the PS said, please don't send us any more business cards. Because, and it's so funny, is one of the most common questions I get is do you put a business card in your handwritten note, and it's always best to err on the side of no. But if they don't know you at all, then maybe the first handwritten note has a business card, maybe even with your picture on it. And that way they're like, oh, they've been to 10 open houses. They may not remember the realtors at all, but they would remember you because you had a business card with a picture on it and wrote them a handwritten note. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten listings because I was the only person who wrote the handwritten note. True story.
Yeah, it makes you stand out. People remember you because of it. It's such an odd thing to do in this day and age of technology. So if you want to stand out, just go back to old school ways.
It's all about differentiation, right? How are you different? And you don't just want to be different. Everybody talks about differentiation. What you really want to do is be better. How do you be better? It's a handwritten note is better than a professional who doesn't write handwritten notes. So be a professional who writes handwritten notes and
write it the right way.
That's right. Write rightly.
Yeah, write rightly. Well, I think they need to sign up for November to learn how to write a proper power note, because you can write
first lesson.
Yeah, and you need to understand how to speak to them. It's very important. Don't just go out there and start writing notes thinking you're changing the world. You should take Michael's class.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'll give you one more hour to talk. So we are wrapping up, by the way. We're right at the top of the time. So, final words of wisdom. This is the words of wisdom on kind of going from not known to well-known in your area, how to go from novice to influencer. And you've done that. And, honestly, from my perspective, I've seen you change as well. I've seen you where you were I don't know, how do I put this? So you were always professional, but now you're like a top producer. Like you carry yourself with confidence. You're like a woman of power, right? There's men of power and women of power, and there is an aura and an energy around you now that is amazing. And there was always a light of kindness, but now there's an element of power in that. Do you feel it? Did you feel that? Or
and I'd have to give you a lot of credit for that.
well, you know, like I said, you have another hour. So I'll give you as long as you need to explain like that.
How wonderful you are.
Yeah, yeah. And I need that right now. So
wait, we can't stop without telling you my big thing.
What's your big thing? What?
So, you know, with all the cleanups and working with the town, then I got on the environmental committee, and we haven't had a meeting for quite some time, but now our fiscal year starts in October, and we got to our meeting and we had this big list. What do we want to accomplish? And something's been just eating at me since I started the cleanups, that, you know, I could sit here and pick up trash every day, all day, and it's still going to be here and be here. It's like, where is it coming from? And I'm looking at the storm drains, and, you know, it rains in Florida, like torrential, and it all just picks up and goes with the water into the storm drain. So I started looking around, you know, like when you put it out to the universe, like the universe delivers. Well, something popped up in my Facebook, no less, an ad for this company in Miami that makes storm drain filters. And they're patented, so they don't clog. And anyways, I brought it up at the village meeting, at our meeting, and they're like, well, we don't know, that might be a lot of money. And I said, look, I'll start a nonprofit to help fund it if that's what we need to do, because I want these all up and down the state. And they're just looking at me like, oh my God. So anyways, I'm starting a nonprofit. It's going to be called the Ocean Love Project. And we're going to advocate municipalities to put those storm drain filters all around.
Do they do it in North Palm?
They do it in Miami and Aventura. And actually in the town of Aventura, they are saving money because they don't have to bring the big vacuum trucks out and suck all the trash out. You know, it would clog and flood.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use that with the council and talk about the cost savings of doing this. And we'll be the test pilot here in North Palm, and then we'll branch out. You
can do well by doing good, huh?
Yes, you can.
Yeah. I love this story. Sean, you are making a huge difference. And I love the Ocean Love name. That's a beautiful, you know, who doesn't love the ocean, right? Yeah. And we need to take care of the ocean. We think it's a big giant trash can, I think sometimes, or some people think it is. I remember working as a lifeguard on a beach, and I was introduced literally the first day I was there. They're giving me the tour, and they walked out to the beach, and the manager said, now I'm going to show you the biggest ashtray in America. And it's just like, it was exactly part of our job was to clean up cigarette butts on the beach. And it was a never ending job. And, you know, it's just like, man, and like what you did is you didn't just solve the symptom, which is the trash. Mm-hmm. You're trying to solve the problem, which is how the trash gets there in the first place. Yep. And that's like cigarette, you know, people stop smoking. Right. So it's like, you know, please stop smoking, and then we won't have a cigarette problem on the beach. We won't have a cigarette problem anywhere, and you'll be there for when your kid graduates and gets married. So it's one of those where I love that you're solving the problem instead of just the symptoms. You become a huge resource in North Palm. You are our contact in the area for referrals, and have gotten referrals and will continue to get referrals. And sometimes we've even like, it hasn't worked out for you, but you're like, oh yeah, I may know somebody, you know, south of here, and very much appreciate that. Mm-hmm. You helped one of our own, Tammy Ebright, right, in the area. That's very much. I got
a girlfriend in town now.
Yeah, exactly. So you guys can hang out, and that scares me a little bit, the two of you together, but it's all good. So, so ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Sean Woods, our CRT, and our guest today on the Weekly Wow. Sean, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it.
Michael, I appreciate you, and I appreciate Sherry. Thank you.
For everybody who's listening or watching, do me a favor. Comment below, what was your biggest aha or an action that you're going to take based on this interview today? I'll come back later in the Facebook group, or if you did a watch party, I'll try to track down the watch party and I'll answer any questions. Sean will help answer some of those questions as well. But I want to see what your ahas were, what actions you're going to take. Hopefully one of the actions is you're going to sign up for November or get involved with CRT at 7lteachers.com. But this is the Weekly Wow, a special broadcast of the Referrals Podcast. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We'll see you next week on the Weekly Wow.